goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Connington, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Elaine Woolscroft.
Did you miss us? Because we missed you. Now sit down and pay attention.
That was creepy.
That was
I really enjoyed it.
Bizarre.
Especially you, Susan.
It's his thing.
That's kind of we're on episode 21.
Whoa! What?
Hey, we can drink.
Yeah,
We can drink.
yeah. So we got a fun episode today because we haven't done another one of these Pantheon of Utter Shit.
Now, is it really a
episodes.
Pantheon? It doesn't have to be. I'm asking questions.
I don't know. I'm kind of in the camp of I don't think this movie quite is
Okay.
a utter shit.
Brian, you got a little
Pantheon.
soft spot there for the horror movies. Yeah.
I do.
But this movie's so gleefully enjoyable. But before we get to the movie of Sleepaway Camp,
Some controversy.
we have some controversy. We have a little news bit for y'all today.
What's our news bit?
So we, you saw Sausage Party.
And it was fucking hilarious.
John and I need to still see it and fully intend to. But it looks like
You will piss your pants.
some information did come to light recently.
I usually do.
Where
It's a problem.
where it seems like a lot of the animators on the show were a combination of not paid for overtime and or not credited for their work on the film.
And intimidation tactics.
Yeah, they were intimidated into working more hours for no
Yep.
pay. Of course, the studio and the co-financer of the project deny such claims, as you do. But it looks like the Canadian production company Nitrogen Studios has been in a feud with the animators about the level.
Well, they've been a feud with the production, the
and
head of the
basically
production
how
stuff.
they were just coerced to work for free. So to break this down, like money wise, we were looking into the numbers, and so the budget for Sausage Party, $19 million,
which is small for an animated feature.
I mean, it sounds like a stupid amount of money, but
How much did Toy Story 3 cost?
Toy Story 3, by contrast, their budget was $200 million.
That's Disney for you.
But I mean, if you look just look at the difference.
But
I mean,
it's
they're both
true.
feature-length
But you're
films.
right. You're absolutely correct.
19 versus 200 million.
That clearly tells me that there had to have been shenanigans going on.
Even 100 million would be a huge disparity, but it's
Most of that
staggering.
went to Tim Allen supercharging his mower on set and accidentally breaking some microphones and stuff.
I see, you're a dude. You can do it so much better than me.
Yeah, but no, honestly, like this sort of thing, I think happens more in animated films than in live action. I think that because of the amount of work that goes into producing these things,
It's all behind the scenes. There's no performance capture necessarily like there is with
Right.
live film. It's the animators doing it.
right? But I think a lot of it is the mentality is kind of almost like a factory, and almost like kind of like a sweatshop.
And this one certainly
this
seems
quite
like
literally
it
was it. And I mean, I know that a lot from reading the article from the Hollywood Reporter, they said that some animators who were like just fresh out of college, felt that they had to go ahead and work that overtime.
Yeah, well, and they didn't know any better. Like, when you're fresh out of college, you're in your first job, especially when you work in this field where there's a lot of visibility and, like I'm working on a Seth Rogen film, you know? It's hard.
Well, also, weren't they threatened with being blackballed? Like, if you don't do this, you'll never work again.
They basically, they didn't quite threaten that. They just said, well, it might be a little difficult
Like the way the
for
mob
you.
does?
Yeah,
Yes.
right? Well, because when you're 22, you don't fucking know better.
No.
You're just out of college.
No, you're just like, well, okay, fine. I'll go ahead and I'll work 24 hours straight animating a talking sausage, because, I want to be able to work on the next movie. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely bullshit, and this is definitely shenanigans. And I mean, I hope that because I love Seth Rogen, as a comedian, that he wasn't, involved.
I
in
feel
it.
like he wouldn't have known.
Well, according to all reports, he didn't know. I think he was too busy making beer commercials with that joke stealer Amy Schumer, so he wasn't paying attention totally.
Shots fired from
You
Camp
don't
Willis
like Amy Schumer?
No, I think she's actually very funny when she writes her own material.
Holy crap!
Ouch.
She's a joke stealer, folks.
Shots fired, Amy Schumer.
Okay.
But yeah, so...
By the way, I hope this gets bad to Amy Schumer. Let's start a Twitter war. I don't have Twitter, so one of you guys. You can fight on my
fighting your battles.
I'm not fighting your battles. I saw her live. She's
Yeah,
hilarious.
she is hilarious.
Hey, let's give you guys' Twitter handle so she can yell at you guys.
I don't
you
want
can
to
blow
yell
me.
at me.
Okay.
But one of the things that I just think is concerning is just the utter denial on the part of like the higher ups,
Yeah.
saying that it never took place and that anyone who worked late was compensated and they were like offered meals and stuff.
That's bullshit.
Like, I just think it's
That's utter
gross.
bullshit.
Like, and I cannot see Seth Rogen having any
No.
knowledge of it. He seems like a really cool guy. Like
Yeah.
I think he would be appalled.
Yeah.
Well, the director was bragging about, we came in on such a cheap budget, because you have the people shackled to
when
their
you've got
animating
slave
tables.
labor
Yeah.
animating your movie, I mean, yeah, you're going to be able to come in under budget, but I mean, yeah, this my only fear is that this is going to affect whether they make a Sausage Party 2.
Well,
Electric
people would be kind of reluctant to work on it, I imagine.
And that's my point, is that, if you've got the reputation of, oh yeah, you make your movie with slave labor, pretty much, you're not going to want to, work on that type of movie.
Well, I just think it's interesting too because they're contracted, so there is a probation period there, and that's where that intimidation came in of like, well, you might not be going back. But I do think that employees at Nitrogen in general have complained of high turnover and kind of a lack of stability in the work environment. That's something that the Hollywood Reporter included in their article, saying that there's probably some problems.
Well, animation is a tough business to be in. Because you're kind of viewed as expendable. Because a lot of people come out of art school or they come out of film school and they're just like, I want to be an animator, or I want to go ahead and be a motion graphic designer or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's such a hired gun mentality that they don't really care about things like that you're not working 24 hours straight, or that you've eaten something, that you've rested.
Yeah, well,
they don't care about that.
There's no regulation.
They just don't give a shit. No, they don't give a shit.
Get another assembly.
We're just like, well, you know what?
Ridiculous.
No, but their mentality is, well, there's a whole line of other college students who are just graduated who are looking for a job. So if you want to go ahead and bitch and complain, that's fine. You can do that, but you're replaceable.
Yep.
And that's the mentality. And I think that's not just with animation. I think it's more prevalent with animation because it is an art where you do have multiple people who are working on maybe one scene or one shot, and it's not like you can just go ahead and film it live action. So I think the high turnover rate is more prevalent with animation than I think with other
and two,
parts of filmmaking.
If you look at their minuscule budget of $19 million, they had some major names in the cast. They had James Franco, Seth Rogen, Kristen Wiig, Salma Hayek. They all had to have salaries for it. You know? So it's probably even less than we actually think. That any of these animators got paid, and then I did see that some of them were uncredited as well, which I think is gross.
That is really disgusting.
That's just insult to injury. That's literally insult to injury.
Yeah, that is deplorable.
Hollywood, you just keep fucking it up.
Are you trying to suggest that Hollywood is crooked?
No.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you're working for free, you should get a credit.
And even if they didn't know, this is quite the black eye for Kristen Wiig and James Franco. But speaking of chicks and dicks, we saw Sleepaway Camp.
No, okay, so we have to have a talk about this first. So
Segue.
So there's a very interesting twist in this movie for those who have not seen it, but this is not a reflection on actual transgender concerns. This movie is not about that.
This movie does not date very well because it
is a bit outrageous in its presentation, but we are not saying anything about this for anybody that truly is in the situation, from an honest place. So
we're not saying that transgendered people are murderers.
No,
or anything like
there's
that.
There's a lot of misconceptions, especially in the media, of
Silence of the Lambs did that.
Of transgender people, there's been a lot of misrepresentation, but this movie's not about that. So whatever you guys have heard about this movie, I think one of the few positive things is the portrayal of the dad's relationship with his boyfriend, honestly.
Well, it kind of is. It is kind of a damnation of transgender people that they're clearly crazy. You know, if I feel we can't even dig into this because we don't want to give away the twist till the end.
No, I think. Do we
should
really
we just jump into it?
I
If
mean,
you don't know the
I think
twist
you
by
should
now,
just.
and if you're listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, but like, we're gonna fucking ruin it for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Well, why
love
don't you
you.
why don't
Let's
you just
start with-
talk the story about? Let's talk about the story first. What is Sleepaway Camp about?
All right. Well, we'll start with the beginning, and then we'll slowly build to what the inevitable ending was. So the beginning of the movie is a dad. He's hanging out on a boat with some kids. He is
With his kids.
Yeah, with his kids.
Not just random ones.
That's true.
Yeah.
I said a couple of kids.
Some
yeah.
kids.
He is 80s furry, by the way. He is like Connery. You know what I mean? Like,
I was thinking more like Selleck, but okay.
Yeah.
It was a little Selleck.
Yeah. Well, either way, I had a boner. But he is on the boat with his children, and it flips over, and Napoleon Dynamite and his dipshit girlfriend are driving a speedboat, not paying attention.
Because they're on this lake,
Yeah.
and there's like a kids camp across the way. Now this guy's just with his kids.
Yeah, it's a male, and it's very important to know that it's a little boy, and a little girl. And so the boat tips over. They're in the water. The Napoleon Dynamite and his girlfriend are not paying attention to their speedboat and how fast it's going. And there's a guy on the shore who signals, whose name is Larry, it's John. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He says, John, the doctor's coming. The doctor's coming. You have to go. And they're like, our aunt, the doctor, beautiful exposition, is coming. Well, let's go to the shore. And all of a sudden, the speedboat wrecks into them. It's very confusing, purposely confusing on who gets hit, what happens. The dad dies, and one of the kids die, but we don't see the face.
Classic 80s horror setup.
Yeah.
Right.
Your Jason Voorhees type.
I would
setup.
also like to say that the acting is really not good in this movie.
Yeah.
The acting's one of the best parts.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Like,
We jump ahead 8 years now, and the little girl who was involved in the accident, she goes to
Angela.
Yeah, Angela, our main character, goes to
her cousin Ricky's
Ricky.
with her Aunt Martha.
Yeah, goes to visit cousin Ricky, and
She goes to live with them.
Yeah, she goes to live with
after
them.
the accident.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And they're going to camp, and the actress that plays the aunt is my favorite person that's ever lived. By the way, no, that won't do at all. I feel like we need to throw in some kind of audio clip or something because you have to.
We can't do that.
All right,
I'm
look it
sorry.
up. Look it up. It's on YouTube. The full movie is on YouTube.
Yeah.
So look up her performance. Desiree Gould is the actress that
That
plays
is
Aunt Martha.
that's her name. Like that's
Yes.
her.
Desiree
Okay.
Gould.
That fits her completely.
Look up her performance. It's just insanity. But they send him off to camp, and there's little lines that seem completely pointless in the movie, like, hey, Angela, why don't you take showers when the rest of us shower? And, just little lines like that to the whole movie that don't seem like they have any purpose.
It mostly just seems like Angela's shy.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much
And
it.
at the camp, because Friday the 13th just had come out, shortly before this movie, they follow a faceless murderer kills all the people in the camp. And at the very end of the movie, Angela is, revealed to be the killer. She's lying over the body of one of the victims, and she stands up, and they pan out, and the big twist is she has a penis. Why? Because it wasn't the little girl that died. From the
No, it wasn't
speedboat.
the little boy.
It wasn't
that
the-
died,
it
leaving
was-
the woman as the
yeah.
girl as the survivor.
God, I'm getting yeah.
It's confusing.
The little
So,
girl died. The little boy
lives,
survived.
and they show that the aunt, who's crazy, wanted to.
She wanted a little girl.
Yeah, little girl. So she just
Dressed her in
turns
girly
this
clothing.
Little boy into a little girl, which it requires a little bit of hormone therapy for that. But
And
whatever.
so this is why I'd like to fundamentally
Yeah.
say that this movie does not have anything to do with being transgender, because the change was forced upon Angela by an external force.
Right.
The aunt, the crazy aunt who wanted a daughter instead of a second son. So this is why this has nothing to do with that. It is a very hot button kind of movie because the portrayals are kind of confusing, but you have to recognize the film for what it is.
It's a product of its
She's-
time.
and she
I mean,
was-
that's the thing.
I think it was offensive for its time, but I
Right,
just don't
but
think.
I'm just saying,
the audience for the movie didn't really seem to
the
care.
reason why this is, nothing to do with transgender, kind of concerns is because, Angela did not want to be
Right.
did not feel that she was actually female. There was no disparity between the way she felt and the way she looked, which is totally valid if that's something that's going on with someone. But
the movie is, if nothing else, homophobic. Let me explain.
Yeah.
I think you can glean good things from it, though. Like, if people are saying that, like, again, probably a product of its time, but, like, what was wrong with the dad? He was super loving with his kids. He had a very functional relationship with his,
there's nothing wrong with the dad. I'll explain where I think the movie went off the rails and was homophobic. So the guy on the shore, Larry, who says the doctor's coming, turns out to be the father's secret lover.
Yeah.
And in the process of the movie, anytime Angela gets close to a boy, you
get flashes of the father and Larry together.
Yeah.
It only happens once. They have a flash. She has a flashback.
And it's the 80s, and they all have, they're all, afraid of getting too gay, so they just kind of like touch each other's face gently. That's how they're gay with each other.
You mean the filmmaker, like, society, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and probably the actors. And they're like, by the way, they're in David Lynch's Eraserhead. Like, all the walls are black in these flashbacks.
Yeah.
But the idea is that triggered insanity in the little boy / girl. I
think it was.
That's true, because
dad being gay made her crazy. I think is what the movie.
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that,
because murders already occurred before we saw this flashback with him.
I think it honestly, like, there were certain triggers, and that's one of them. I don't think that's the be all end all. I mean, it seems like when the cook, the pedophile cook, is like trying. I thought he was hilarious.
We have to wait.
But when that he's pushing almost like a sexual agenda against Angela. What's the response? Is she kills him. So I mean, I think there are triggers. I think anytime sexuality is brought into play, that it's a trigger.
And I think it's more that sexuality is being demonized more than anything like
homosexuality. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily homosexuality. I think just sexuality is a trigger.
Because I think what they're trying to express and what we can't possibly know at this point in the film is, Angela is kissing a boy and having, her own stirrings, of sexuality. We don't really realize that she's probably extremely confused.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, it's confusing to her. And she, had something else modeled for her as well, where, Angela was turned into, more of a female character by her aunt. And all she really remembers from childhood is, her father and her father's boyfriend. So I think it speaks of confusion. There could be credence to what you're saying, John, just because this is outplaced of its time. And if that's what the film is saying, then the film is wrong. But I think that there's an argument that could be made that just simply sexual stirrings occurred, and that's possibly what's being demonized as sexuality in any form. Gay, straight, whatever.
Yeah.
That's just my take.
Yeah. I guess for me, like, I think they're just certain triggers. I think they're just certain things that just set her off.
But she killed before the encounter with the boy. Before that they kissed on the beach or whatever. There were murders before that.
Yeah, but she's remembering, her father involved in a sexual encounter with another man. I think we're led to believe that that's not the first time she's remembered that. It's not like she just suddenly remembered it. She probably remembers it each time something happens and she wants to go kill. It's kind of what I gathered from that. Like, the movie saying that, like, because your daughter saw you being gay, she went crazy.
I think that's largely open to interpretation. Like I said, I think that, she's feeling, sexual stirrings and remembering what that looked like, when she was younger,
Right. So why
and I will be using the she pronoun for the character of Angela just for simplicity's sake.
So
why do you think this movie belongs in the Pantheon of Utter Shit?
The acting is so bad.
the plot is preposterous. The pacing's bad.
I love the kills. I love the kills.
I mean, the kills are great. The
kills
special
are fantastic.
Effects are pretty good, actually.
Can
the practical effects.
Can we not call this a horror movie? Can we call this a murder movie? I hate when movies that like this that have absolutely no scares are called horror movies. This is a murder movie. This is just a bunch of murders.
Psychological.
Well, I mean it's a slasher. I mean that's honestly what it is. Yeah. It's not necessarily a murder movie. It's a product of the time.
Well, Halloween's a slasher, and that movie actually is scary.
Well, that was the first slasher. You know, you're number one. But I mean, I love the murders in this movie. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
You know, you've got like.
Take us through them.
Okay, I've got a list here.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one, okay, is John Baker, the father, hit by a speedboat.
Okay.
Angela Baker, the little girl who is a real little girl, hit by a speedboat, drowned in lake. Okay, and then you've got Artie, that's the cook.
Played by Robert Earl Jones.
Who?
Robert Earl Jones.
Darth Vader's father. James Earl Jones' dad.
Really?
Yeah,
That is,
seriously.
You don't hear
No.
James Earl Jones in the guy's voice? Yeah, it's his
you
dad.
can't see it in his face. Oh, it's uncanny.
Chair pulled underneath, scalded alive by vat of boiling water.
Done.
Okay.
Loved it.
Then you've got Kenny. I don't remember Kenny, but he drowned in the lake. Okay. And then you've got Billy. Billy gets a beehive dropped on him and head stung by bees.
Yes. My girl style.
Not the bees! Not the bees!
Yeah. Yeah. And then one of my favorites, Meg, who's having sex with Mel, the camp counselor. Okay. That's a little weird there.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Back
Meg is still gorgeous, by the way.
You
I just
can't-
Really?
like to say that. Like, the actress, like, she's still beautiful.
Guys, you can't help who you love. Just ask the cook.
Yeah, I know. Back impaled, sliced open with hunting knife through shower stall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hers is gruesome. Like, her
It is.
back's
It's
all
pretty-
fucked
it's
up.
pretty fucked up.
That's the one that bothered you? Not, I think, the next kill.
The next kill is 4 young campers hacked
nope.
apart with hatchet and sleeping bags.
That's not the one that bugged
That
you.
one,
We're
yeah.
getting there.
I know which one you're talking about. That one was personally one of my favorites that you're talking about. So, and after that, you've got Judy smothered with pillow, hot hair curler inserted into vagina.
Do we even need to bring up the pillow into this?
Like,
Is that
no,
really
I mean,
even
she-
No, well, I
necessary?
mean the pillow did happen, but I mean, yeah, I mean that what I love about this movie is you don't see that. Like, I think nowadays a lot of
Oh, the
movies,
shadow play in that?
all
It's
you see is the
beautifully
shadow, and then you've got the sound of this utter terror just happening and the burning, and you're just going like,
very
"Oh my
horrible,
god!"
like, crispy singeing
Yes.
noise. Yeah,
Hey,
no.
any chef will tell you don't cook clams.
I mean,
Jesus.
there are some parts of this film I think that are very successful. I do think whoever was behind the camera did have a little bit of an idea of what they were doing. But again, it could be a
Copying
product.
Friday the 13th.
I mean, but it could
They
be
were
a
copying
product.
Friday the 13th.
It could be a product of its time as well. But I mean, that doesn't mean that some of the shots weren't good.
And then you've got Mel, the camp director, shot through the throat with an arrow.
Yep.
And then Paul, the
would-be love interest.
The would-be love interest.
Poor Paul.
He's decapitated with a hunting knife.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And then we, the audience.
We, the audience. But see, here's the thing: is I don't know if it's necessarily a Pantheon of Utter Shit movie.
I don't know because
It's a bad-
so
It's a
enjoyable.
bad movie, but it's not a-
movie.
it's not
but,
utter shit.
Like, I don't look at it as tiptoes.
No,
You know?
no, but nobody would. No tiptoes.
I'd say it's maybe less so bad it's good as Troll 2 is. Like, Troll 2, that's clearly a shitty fucking movie, but it's
and
really
funny
good.
because this one, like, I think it's whereas like other bad movies can make us sad, like this one makes me so happy because it just like is so blissfully unaware of how terrible it was. And like, I don't know, it's funny because I mean, I think it's included in our bad movie reel, which is the Pantheon of Utter Shit for us.
Yeah.
I think we've included it because it is such a cult hit and is lauded for being terrible
Yeah.
and outrageous. I mean, I think if anything, it is very tone deaf to different kinds of sexuality and to gender fluidity and gender, transgender issues. I think it's very much a product of its ignoramus time, and I think that's part
I think
of the
you
problem.
can definitely say that. I mean,
Because you have to look at a film and see it and say like you couldn't fucking make that now. You couldn't.
no, I don't think you could. I really
I don't know if
think-
anybody would want to,
the
but
movie,
you can't.
The movie has a cook character who is openly a pedophile, and other characters just
proud
laugh
of
it off.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you gonna fuck that kid? Yeah, I'm gonna fuck that.
Well,
that's
I
literally what he's saying.
That's the 80s for
I
you, though,
cannot
guys.
remember.
We didn't know things or do things like the right way.
Kids just got fucked. No big deal.
I cannot remember the exact line he said, but he is in front of two other high-ranking people at the sleepaway camp. Is like, I like him at that age, just peach fuzz down there. Or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
No,
what?
yeah,
And they go,
yeah, that's
"Ooh,
seriously
Did I
happened.
Did I black out at
You
this
did.
point?
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
that-
God.
No, that seriously did. That's a line in the movie. It's It is pretty horrible.
Oh, Frank, you're gonna go fuck some kids.
And they just laugh it off. But then again, you have to think, Mel, the camp counselor, is also fucking kids. They're older kids, but they're still kids.
I suppose.
But yeah, it's a movie that I don't know if it could be made nowadays.
Oh, it could not.
No, not a chance.
Absolutely
not
not
a chance.
And I think that's why, because it is so absolutely ignorant. A lot of things, and is very, flippant about very serious issues.
Yeah.
I mean, with violence against children and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, that shit isn't good, guys.
Yeah.
What was this? 1983.
Yes.
This was 83.
This movie couldn't even have been made in 91 because I
No,
don't know if you
no,
guys.
no.
I don't know if you guys remember the protests that Silence of the Lambs had because of its portrayal of transgender and things like that. There's a lot of protests. So even in 1991, which people were crying, oh, too much political correctness in 1991. Like compared to today, that was a wild west.
Well, I think this
and that's
movie.
so sad. Like
they could even make that movie in 91. That's how it dated.
That's so sad that you say like that. There's been protests since 91 because why the fuck haven't we done better for transgender rights, for LGBT rights? Like why the fuck have we not done better? If like
do you remember
if people
in
were upset
Ed
in
Wood?
91, it's gross.
Remember in Ed Wood there it was a big competition to see who was going to make the Christy Jordan story.
Kristen Jordanson.
Jordanson, excuse me. And one of the first cases of transgender reassignment surgery.
Yep.
And I mean, this movie is made in 1994, but it takes place, in the
1950s.
50s, and and there's oh my god, did they cut it off? Ew, what a freak! That was the prevailing opinion of transgender people. Like, remember, it wasn't until like the 70s when people like Harvey Milk were coming out and saying that it's okay for gays to teach school.
Yeah.
I mean, we're transgender are unfortunately, gays will come first, and then the transgender are gonna have to come after. And if it was the late 70s when we were finally even accepting the fact that homosexuals could teach school, that's why it took so long.
It just makes me sad that we haven't done better. I don't know. Yeah. As a society, I just think that that's.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in our society that we have not done.
Yeah.
Jack shit with, and honestly,
But I think a lot
will.
of the imagery that's present in this, is just ignorant to a point where it isn't anything that should be like in mainstream.
Yeah.
It needs to be fringe. It needs to be on the outside, and we have to analyze it with the understanding that a lot of what the filmmakers did was incorrect.
Right.
Because the big twist at the end, realizing that Angela herself is the killer, because it looks like it's her cousin Ricky for a large part of the film.
And that's a misdirection.
Because it's all people that's mean to her.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize
we don't
that
know
she's
who
capable
the killer
of doing
is.
it herself,
Yeah, so it's kind of a whodunit. We don't know who the killer is. And then you start to speculate like who it could be. And they do point a lot of fingers at Ricky, her cousin,
because he's like kind of her protector, and
back then, like, oh well, it couldn't be a little girl. Like,
and that was the thing
girls
too.
Very
They
shy
didn't
at
have
the
people.
time.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of like villainesses in mainstream horror back then either. I mean, the fact that Friday the 13th with the twist of who the murderer is in that movie, and if you haven't seen it, sorry, but like that being a woman as well, that was unheard of. And they purposely cast Mrs. Voorhees the way that they did because she was some kind of like TV personality at the time, like
I think
someone
so.
like very mild mannered, very sweet,
Yeah.
and they did that on purpose to
She
totally
did that movie to
throw
pay
you
for
off.
a car.
Really? Aww.
She did that
like,
movie
I'll-
to pay for a car?
Yeah, she's like, I'll do this big piece of shit so I can buy my new car.
Aw. Well, I mean, they
I
didn't.
bet she's like, well, how much do you want to be paid? $9,876.43.
I mean, they didn't know
Plus the
back
closing
then.
cost.
They didn't know that back then, like how how important the movie was going to be. I mean, they didn't shoot that for very much, But
No.
Wow.
but anyway,
shows.
but having a villainess is a big deal. But in the very end of the film, it's it's a very iconic part of the movie is when we do pan out and see that Angela is the murderer. She's like, we assume like cut through the boy's head.
Oh, she's
like,
cut
through
his head
neck,
off.
or
She's
she
cut his
cut his
head
head
off.
off.
Yeah.
Or like, did she bite it?
No,
Like,
she cut his head off with the honey.
Okay, so then we see,
And she's just like,
and we see her stand up, and the reason it's so unsettling at the very end because she has her mouth wide open in like almost like a snarl. But what it is
Her
that
face isn't
they
moving.
hired a college stand-in, like a college-age man to stand in to be in the film.
Who had the body of like a little boy.
Yeah, I mean, we get like a full Monty, but it is like, I would say like a 17, 18-year-old. I'd have to be an 18-year-old, I guess. 18-year-old's body, where he is younger, but it's just a mask of her face over top. So the whole image is incredibly unsettling because her face has no movement whatsoever. And one thing that I think is distracting and was a mistake on the part of the filmmakers is, Angela's quote unquote body is neck down covered in blood, but the face is totally clean, which I think is very creepy as well.
You only get one mold. Those molds ain't cheap.
It's true.
If you fuck it up, then you're screwed.
It looks like it doesn't look like a 3D mask. It looks
it looks like a Well,
the movie was made for $17 and a cup of coffee. What I mean?
But yeah, I mean, so I think that whether intentionally or because of a limited budget, some of the aspects of it are very, very unsettling.
Now I went ahead and I went and saw the sequel.
You brave bastard.
To this movie.
How was it?
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, John, I think you've probably seen it.
Yes. Well, I'm aware that Sleepaway Camp 2 was
Unhappy Campers.
Unhappy Campers
was not done by 2 and 3, I believe, were not done by the original.
Actually,
filmmakers,
there
and then
are.
They went back and made 4, which is actually really a sequel to 1.
I can't believe there's so many of them.
There are, and I sat through Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. I could not do 3 or Return to Sleepaway Camp, which is the sequel, the official sequel to the first. It's convoluted, but basically, this stars.
That should have been the movie's tagline: Sleepaway Camp. It's convoluted.
It's convoluted. Here's the funny thing: it stars Bruce Springsteen's sister as Angela.
Yes.
So
excited.
And get this, she's talkative throughout the entire movie. The whole plot of this movie is that Angela went after the events of the first movie.
She's post-op now.
She's post-op now. Okay. So she went to the psycho ward and she did her time and she decided that she's going to become a camp counselor at a new camp. And she starts killing everybody because of weird slights, like bizarre weird things that people do. Like she basically becomes like a Jason, where she kills people for immoral things or not being good campers.
I see.
Not being good campers.
Oh, Jesus
so
Christ.
for example, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, she bludgeons someone with a log and cuts the tongue out of someone with a hunting knife because they backtalk to her.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a terrible movie.
And the weird thing is that, like, she's considered camp counselor of the year. She's like, all I want to do is be around happy campers. And blah. It's actually pretty funny.
Oh, wow.
And you find out that she's collecting all of the campers who are dead in a abandoned lodge.
As you do.
As you do.
It's a thing.
And she just has them all posed around her. And she, they're all in these they picked really good kills for this one.
That is super
Like,
ripped.
You've got two people who are burned alive and have their face impaled. You've got someone who's got, let's see here, garroted with a guitar string. Okay, that's always fun. Chest impales 4 times
that
with a
one's
hunting
for you,
knife.
Bruce.
Yep. Face melted off with battery acid. Decapitated with a machete.
What is it, the clown from It?
Yeah. One on here is just called Killed. Yeah, a couple of kills with a hunting knife.
Is that when it's the POV shot, the Sam Raimi POV of the camera just Dutch angles up to somebody's face, they go, "Ah!" and then they're dead? I think that's what that means.
Yeah. But this stuff is honestly, number 2 is hilarious, just because of how terrible it is. Like, if you thought,
does this movie play on transgender at all? Or
no,
is it just
they
like,
don't touch any of that shit.
Okay.
That's probably for the best.
It really is.
They don't. It's a strict slasher in the purest sense of the word, with bad acting. Not nearly as bad as the first one. I will say that the acting improved a little bit, but it's just a ridiculous premise. She just kills people for stupid things.
Just the shit of it.
Just say, hey, you know what? You said fuck you to me, so I'm going to kill you now.
Perfect.
That's pretty much it. But,
wait, so it's Silent Night, Deadly Night 2?
Yes.
Where he kills people for talking during a movie. It's Serial Mom.
No, but I love Serial Mom.
I
by
love
the way.
Serial Mom. Well, I
Okay.
love John Waters. I worship that man's feet.
But yeah, like there's a whole bunch of these things here. Yeah, but there's a third one, Teenage Wasteland. I did not see that one, but I believe it stars the same person, Bruce Springsteen's sister.
Oh wow!
Easy
So
for you to
she
say.
did two of them.
Yeah,
I would have preferred John Cougar Mellencamp's sister. But that's just me.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. As I said, I kind of don't think this belongs in the Pantheon of Utter Shit.
Before we get into that, because I feel that's kind of a closing thing. Can we talk about how the twist is incredibly stupid, and it's not a twist if it's
Well, it's just so out
it
there.
is a twist, but it's just
the idea.
the twist also could have been that she's actually a dragon. It doesn't. Like, yes, there are.
I mean, she had a dragon.
There are clues in the movie.
Oh!
That's a dick reference.
Well, I mean, it would
But
have
the
been a
twist
good
doesn't-
twist that she was this young girl, and that maybe seeing that her, seeing her brother and father murdered, made her insane or whatever, But just to have,
I think her aunt made her fucking
yeah,
crazy.
well, having her also
Here
being
is-
pushed by her aunt, like
Yeah.
that's so weird. Like, I always wanted a little girl, another boy wouldn't do it all. Like,
No, not at all.
Angela.
whoa.
But take a movie, and I'm not asking you, the audience or you two, like what you think of the movie, but The Sixth Sense, the twist had a purpose to the overall story.
Yeah,
and
no.
this movie's twist was just for the sake of a twist.
Shock value. Shock value.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
totally.
Because it didn't serve any purpose or any oh, now I get no.
No, it didn't.
It's like that's why she didn't talk. Like that's the thing is I never understood. It's like why the hell didn't she talk through most of the movie?
Yeah.
Well, she's supposed to be shy. I mean, like, it's
Yeah,
misdirection.
yeah,
on the
I
audience
get that.
part. There's
I-
no character.
I
Well,
get
the movie
that.
does set up like, what? Hey, Angela, why don't you have any tits? Or Angela, I bet you don't shower because you don't have pubes. Like, she doesn't shower with the other girls. She doesn't have boobs. Like,
Well, I kind of
they're
get that,
hidden,
but
there are things
there-
referenced to the
There's
whole.
no reason why, she doesn't talk.
I mean, I guess Aunt Martha does the talking for her in every
I
situation.
guess, but like that was my one criticism. It's like why the hell is she like not talking the whole time? I get it, she's shy, but
Plot and murder, Brian. She doesn't
you-
have time for conversation.
Guys, you can't just have a little boy grow his hair out and then look like a girl.
you can't do that.
We know that. I don't know why you're telling us this. Like,
well,
that
that's
we
the
know.
movie. It's like, you look at Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Third Rock from the Sun. Nobody thought he was a girl just because he had long hair.
No.
Jogo, your long hair. It's just so 90s. It hurt me.
I'd bang him now, but no.
Oh, I totally. I mean, what? Who's talking?
But no, she would have had to have. Are we to believe that the aunt was giving the little boy hormonal therapy?
Oh, absolutely.
Like going
guess.
full tilt. Like,
I mean,
but
it
where is
doesn't-
she getting these?
But it doesn't
hormone
go that
pills?
far.
Well, she's
I
a
think-
doctor.
I think
That's
you're-
true. She's a doctor.
She's a doctor.
That's a good point, Brian.
I think you're just asking too many questions of the film, though. I mean, we're not meant to understand the ins and outs. Like, it's meant to be, ooh, bah. It's like a, shock value twist. We're not meant to understand. Though, her being a doctor really neatly tidies that up, Brian. Thank you.
I say that's the reason why.
And like why at the end it's like, oh, you're actually the little boy, and I am actually an alien, and now I'm going to return to my home planet. Wow, what a twist! It doesn't matter.
Right.
I guess you could say that, like, as you guys pointed out, most of the incidences involve some level of sexuality, and when you're that confused and messed up,
Makes you snap.
Makes you
Yeah.
snap.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
take.
Either that or you just, it's punishment to pedophiles.
yeah, well, could it be misconstrued that, like, she didn't want the cook to, like, have, sex with her because he would find her dick instead of just not wanting to be raped by the cook?
Maybe.
Maybe. I think she just...
This movie is so fucked.
I mean, I think you're reading way too much into this because I don't think they've
Or at
thought
least
that
more
far.
than, like, the writers did.
Like, I think they pretty much were just like, yeah, that cook, he's a pedophile, and yeah, it would be nice to see him die. So let's kill him.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
we
like, that's-
obviously
I
aren't meant
think
to be
pretty
on the
much-
cook's side. We're not meant to feel sorry. That
Like,
he-
as a horror film aficionado, I can just tell you, with this movie, all they were going was, we want to do this gag, and this gag, and this gag, and this kill here. Okay, so how can we fit those in? Well, and then that's why when you watch Sleepaway Camp, it feels kind of like that. They're just going from one kill to the next, to the next, and next.
Just the way Friday the 13th did.
Just the way Friday the 13th did. That's exactly it. They're copying the same movie. So, they know the formula works, and I mean it's. I would say it's not a bad movie, but it's one of those awesomely bad ones.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you're right. You know, maybe Pantheon of Utter Shit is a stretch for the movie.
I think it's a stretch
for the movie's construct, but I think it does deserve several
It
knocks
fits
because
somewhere
its
in there.
contact,
I would say
content is very
it's a
destructive.
low god in the Pantheon.
Yeah, no.
It's
not
not
like
a
one of the
Zeus.
greats.
It's not one of the.
It's
You
no
know,
Tiptoes.
it's no Tiptoes.
Ah, the famous great god Tiptoes. But I think you guys are also being a little distracted by how much fun you had with the movie. It's
Oh,
still
yeah, it's
terrible.
definitely
it is,
a fun
but
movie.
It's fun. I mean, like, there's bad movies that, like, do you remember when we watched Tiptoes and Brian came over to do the show and he was so fucking mad at us because we made him watch it? He was furious. He was like flabbergasted by how bad the movie was.
I still am angry that you made me watch that fucking movie.
And I'm just glad you're still my friend. But, like, there's different reactions that you can have to a terrible movie, and just because we have a good reaction to this one, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I think that movie's like a prank.
There's grades, you know what I mean? Like, it's the prank you think is funny, whereas Tiptoes is like when someone plays a prank on you that goes way too far and they're just a dick.
Do you think when David Allen Greer was wearing a sock over his genitals, pretending to have sex with Bridget in a greenhouse, only to be interrupted by Gary Oldman on his knees, thought, guys, this isn't gonna work. This is madness.
When you said David Allen Greer with a sock on his dick, I was like, where the fuck is he going with this? I forgot about that scene for a second. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see where John ends up.
Yeah. You figured that at that point you had one of those like self-affirmation moments where you're just going like, I'm seriously getting paid money to do this shit right now.
I guess, man. So I don't know. I mean, you know, the Sleepaway Camp definitely has its cult fans. You know, I think that there's a level of absurdity to the movie that you can relate to.
We will do a lot of movies on this segment on the show that will tell you do not go anywhere near this piece of shit.
This movie is,
you will have a great time,
and I think it's kind of like Troll 2.
Drunk, like, then you'll enjoy it even more.
It's kind of like Troll 2. I kind of put that in the same sort of realm.
Right.
Troll 2 is one of those movies where it's just like, you know what, you sit down, it's fucking terrible, but it's hilarious.
For how horrible this movie is, I mean, it's 1,000 times more competent than Troll 2, though.
Yeah. It's true.
No, I'll give it that. It definitely is. That's why I say it's kind of tough to say that it belongs in the Pantheon of Utter Shit, because it's competently made, and it's you know,
it's true.
Yeah, the script kind of sucks, but I mean, and the acting kind of is over the top, but I mean, you know,
the acting's amazing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Over the top can be amazing too.
It's true.
But yeah.
So that was our offering for the Pantheon, not a full god, maybe like a demigod.
See it. This movie is definitely worth seeing.
Definitely.
Oh, and you know, pay for it. And the reason I say pay for it when you go to see it is that maybe they'll send me like a Blu-ray copy. You know,
that'd be amazing.
I'm a whore. I'll just
and I'll
send
tell
me
you what, though,
whore.
if you really do want to see it, there's a really high quality, high resolution one on YouTube right now. We were like looking through to see certain scenes.
They gotta pay for it.
They got.
I want a poster.
I was really impressed with how good it was.
It's Sleepaway Camp. I don't think they're gonna be flipping shit over piracy on that one.
Good.
I think you're gonna say, "Hey, this is a gimme. This is a gimme.
Space.
This is a gimme."
So yeah, that's all I got.
So,
you merry assholes tonight.
So please be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Psycho Show. If you have a favorite movie you would like for us to review or a question you want to pose to us, you can contact us on our website, cinemapsychoshow.com. You can also find our
call Brian at 41. Oh no, sorry, that's Brian.
Seriously, you're interrupting my closer with that shit.
You're the worst. You never know what John's gonna do.
No, he's a loose cannon. So you can go ahead and also listen to our backlog of episodes in there. We're at 21 now.
Yeah.
So there's 20 pieces of gold.
Those are 20
might not
pieces
have
of gold.
listened to yet. Or if you have to listen to it again.
Nuggets. So be sure to
Nuggets.
subscribe to our show to catch our next episode. Available every Friday.
And if you should die before you wake,